What would you do before work if you had to grow your business? What would you do? Well, what would you do before school to help grow your business? In this episode of the 1004 show, I chat with Ethan Horoschak of SolarIoT. You guys can learn about them at solariot.xyz. And Ethan is just a young 18 years old. And before he heads to school, I interview him. And we learn about his business, what entrepreneurship means to him, how he's convinced his parents that this is something that's a good fit for him. Should he go to school, college? Should he not? He's gotten into Stanford. And also how he's using blockchain to grow his business. Blockchain we've talked a lot about, in the crypto world recently on some of these episodes. And this episode is fun because when I was 18, I wasn't thinking about business. Ethan Horoschak, SolarIoT, episode 107. Let's go. What's the first thing that you ever built?
I started coding my freshman year over summer. I took some computer science courses online through Udemy, an iOS development course actually. And after that course, I started building some iPhone apps for fun. And so the first, I guess, two things I made were really bad iPhone games. One was like an arcade, like bubble popping game, and then the other one was like a 2D platformer similar to like Mario, an iPhone app, and I released it on the App Store.
What made them bad?
I just it was just me doing them, and I was brand new, so the graphics were pretty bad. And then it was just like there were some very simple games, but they were my first thing, and I loved making them.
It seems though that people like simple games, right? One of the most popular games of all time is Pong, and that literally
True.
is two bars
Yes.
and a ball going back and forth. So is it really the design of it that really matters, or is it just getting those people to adopt kind of your game?
I guess yeah, it's a little bit of both. I mean, even in Flappy Bird too, was like an incredibly simple game, and that took off like crazy. But I think I think the graphics were just really bad in those games. But you're right, this very simple, addicting games do take off, so it doesn't need to be too complicated.
It's almost like they're intentionally terrible looking
Yes.
in some of those cases.
Yes.
So Solar IoT is something that you've been working on for a little bit. Tell me a little bit about kind of the genesis of that and what it is.
Sure. So I guess for me, I started coding freshman year. From there, doing some projects, and then I got really interested in entrepreneurship. So I started attending hackathons. And my first hackathon I went to was the Angel Hack Hackathon in Los Angeles. And so I formed a team there, and we actually came up with Solar IoT at that hackathon, presented it, and won the hackathon. And from there, we got accepted into the Angel Hack Startup Accelerator that they do. It was a 12-week accelerator program where we built the business, learned about how to run a startup. And at the end of the 12 weeks, we were then invited to present at Global Demo Day in San Francisco in November. And we presented in front of over 300 people at the San Francisco Opera House. And they were in front of judges of like Thomas Court, founder of AngelPad, a lot of other famous people. And we were selected for a guaranteed interview with Boost VC venture capital for possible investment. And so from there, I've just been talking with various venture capital funds and solar companies, trying to get partnership and investment from there.
And ultimately, what is Solar IoT? What does it do?
So it's an online investment platform focused on crowdfunding residential and commercial solar panel projects and using a blockchain token system. So anyone using the platform can invest as much or as little as they want in a specific project or in a general area. And a company will then distribute it from there, and they will receive a return on investment depending on their contribution from the lease payback. And people will be able to, if they want solar panels, they can register, and their project can show up on the app. So maybe friends, family can help pitch in. And so we're using the blockchain system so the investment can be secure, safe, international, without fees, without that.
It's interesting. You are what, 18 years old?
18.
So there's a lot of people in the world that think blockchain, crypto, all that stuff is ridiculous and it's never going to
Yes.
work. But you're sitting here and you're building basically a business off of that. Why believe in something like blockchain?
Mhm. Well, I guess the business could work without the blockchain just fine. And that's actually our initial starting point. We're going to try to build it first without blockchain and see if we can get some traction and success. And then once blockchain becomes more accepted, maybe better, then we can transition there. But we like the token aspect of blockchain, just the currency aspect, how we can send money anywhere almost instantaneously with very little cost and no servers. But yes, it could work without blockchain too.
Very cool. So a lot of people think that you have to have a lot of experience to start a business, that age matters. You are, I guess, proving them wrong, right? You got excited about business back when you were a freshman. You're currently a senior in high school. Like, these are the most important, some people will say these are the most important years of your life, and you're trying to start a business out of it. Like, does age matter?
I would say it's intimidating being a young entrepreneur. Sometimes I feel like I don't have enough experience to do certain things. Like people maybe don't expect much from me in meetings. Um, but from the experience I've had, people have been very, very supportive. They really like seeing young entrepreneurs taking risks, and I've had a lot of people helping me along the way. From Angel Hack, I have mentors, and I have other friends too in Silicon Valley who've had their own startups who have given me advice. So yes, it's a process. I've definitely made some mistakes, hit some roadblocks, but I've had a lot of people supporting me and helping me, and I love it. I've learned a lot in the last year.
What are some of the mistakes, or you said that people, don't expect much from you? How do you kind of change their minds on that, or what are some of the mistakes that you made?
So to change people's mind, I guess be very good when you meet them, make a good impression. Whatever you're talking to them about, make sure you're prepared, you're eloquent, you have maybe good slides, and you know what you're talking about. I went to a meeting with a solar company, LA Solar, and I've had a couple meetings with the CEO so far. And so we came very prepared. We had a slide set up. We knew our stuff, and he was very impressed. So we're still talking now, and we might set up a partnership with him. And then also mistakes. I guess time and planning is difficult. We when we initially planned for an MVP, and then sometimes we had a vision for the company. Like when we started, we wanted blockchain to be like the sole part of it, but as we've kept going and going, we realized that maybe we don't have to have blockchain and we can start without it. So our direction of the company changes a lot, and we underestimate those certain changes or planning.
What got you interested in entrepreneurship?
I've always been interested in technology since like middle school. I've always had to have the iPhone. I've been playing games a lot, and I've always been interested in science fiction. And so I really wanted to help create the technology that I saw in science fiction, and like these virtual reality, these cool cars. And so I started looking into technology and coding. And then when I started learning about amazing people, I became idolizing like Elon Musk and entrepreneurs like that. And I saw the freedom that entrepreneurship to give you intellectual and creative freedom it had over your life, and also the possibility of financial success is definitely a good motivator.
What do your parents think about all this?
They're very supportive, but they're kind of hands back. They don't try to interfere in it. They say they want it to be my experience. They want me to learn as much as I can, and they provide advice and support when needed. But for the most part, they don't interfere.
Do they come from a business or entrepreneurial background at all?
My dad does have a small business in the health industry, but my mom is actually an engineer. Yeah.
So you're kind of a little bit of both of them.
Yes, a little bit.
Very interesting. When you went through the Angel Hack Accelerator, what was so important about that, or how did it kind of really help you kind of figure out what the business could be?
hmm So I guess before the accelerator, I had no idea where to begin. Where do you start? How do you take a company from nothing to something? And so the accelerator was really focused on helping these teams build something out of nothing. They have mentors. We had weekly online meetings with guest speakers, giving tips depending on the week's time. And we had deadlines. We had to develop KPIs. We had to develop business model, a pitch. We had to register the company, incorporate it as a C corp. Um, so really, it was just helping the company start from nothing, and I learned a lot from there.
You mentioned that when you took the Udemy course, you learned how to develop an iOS. Then you got interested in a local hackathon. For someone that's interested in a hackathon or maybe testing out an idea, why was that so important to kind of the growth of where you are today?
hmm Well, yeah, for the hackathons are a fantastic place. It's just a congregation of designers, coders, and entrepreneurs come together and try to build an idea that works, that could work in the real world as a business. And so you meet fantastic people, some really, really smart people at these hackathons. At the ones I went to, I was probably one of the youngest ones there. A lot of people were there working in the industry, trying to make startups also. And so when you go there, it's a different environment, and from it really steamrolled from there. I didn't expect to win at all, and it sort of steamrolled. So I guess once you've learned the skills for coding or science, and you're interested in entrepreneurship, the hackathon is definitely the next step you need to do.
What's a networking tip that you use when you're at an event like this or just any event?
Just don't be afraid to go and shake someone's hand and introduce yourself. They're not going to talk to you first. So the first hackathon I did, I had no team, so I just went around to anyone and sort of introduced myself and asked about what they're working on. And I did that for like maybe 8 teams, and then I just joined the one that I liked. So just make the first step and be professional, firm handshake, all that stuff.
When you meet someone for the first time, how do you introduce yourself? What do you say you do?
I say, hi, I'm Ethan Horoschak. I'm a high school student interested in entrepreneurship. And then depending on the where I am, but at the hackathon, I said like what coding knowledge I know and what things I'm interested in.
Very cool. You've been accepted into Stanford. You're thinking about going there. You're also thinking about maybe even taking a gap year if the business takes off. When do you ultimately, or how do you ultimately make that decision?
hmm So if we can, I'm currently trying to secure funding right now so we can hire a full team of developers. And if we can do that, then we will work. I'll still commit to Stanford. But then if by August the company still really needs me, then I will tell Stanford if I could delay my acceptance for a year or so, and then keep working until I can hand it off to someone or possibly get acquired. Who knows?
What kind of roadblocks are you currently going through with raising capital?
So I've talked to around 2 or 3 venture capital firms so far, and most of them say we're a little bit too early stage for them to invest in. They said they like to see a working product with actual users before they give the money. So I have to look for people who are willing to give me money really early, which is from the solar companies actually. So I've been talking with the LA Solar and trying to secure funding from there.
So basically, you have a preferred partner, if you will, and someone that's actually in that space as well, and they're helping fund you, and then you get the money from that case. So when you hear those no's, you hear those people, you're too early. What do you do?
Just keep going. I expected to hear a lot of no's. I didn't come into this thinking that everyone was going to be a yes, so it wasn't too disheartening. So I just got to focus on the people who are genuinely interested, which is the solar company, because they essentially what LA Solar wants to do is possibly partner with us, and then we could grow together. And the CEO would come on as a co-founder, which would be really helpful and takes away some of the risk on their side if they were to give us money.
You're pretty wise. I'm 33. When I was 18, I wouldn't have thought the way that you do now. How did you kind of build that thick skin knowing that you're going to hear a lot of no's? Because most people, especially at 18, don't want to hear a no.
Yeah, I guess my parents raised me to be tough skin, but I've watched a lot of startup and entrepreneurship videos, and so also I guess Shark Tank. So you see a lot of them. They all tell you any startup founder will tell you that they've received a lot of no's in their journey, right? And so the only way they can succeed is to keep going, is to persevere, to believe in your project. So I knew that going in, and I also knew I'm young too, so I didn't have much expectations for them to have so much risk to give me money.
What have you learned throughout this whole process not only just being in high school, but then actually starting a business and getting and winning competitions and getting in front of a lot of these people. You're doing this before you even graduate high school. What have you really learned throughout this whole process, if you were to look back and reflect on it?
Yeah, so I I had no idea any of this would happen. It really just steamrolled, and actually, my friend Zach was the one who told me. He's the starter of Hack Club, and he told me to go to hackathon. He said just go and see what happens. And so I just went, and everything just happened from there. So I really learned to maybe go out of my comfort zone and take risks, because you never know what can happen from something small, like that.
What's something on your bucket list?
Okay, listen, I actually really want to travel to Japan. Yeah, definitely going to Japan is one of my bucket lists, and then I have a successful working company, um, where I can have the intellectual creative freedom, and also pay off my parents' mortgage for the house.
Very good. Three good things. How do you define that piece where a successful business? Is it just so that you can have that freedom that you want, or is there another kind of quantifiable data point that you would measure?
So yes, as a business itself, to be self-sustainable, I guess, to make profit, um, and then also to be able to make an impact on whatever space we're in, a noticeable impact, a quality product that people it helps people in some way. I think is a good measure of success.
What social medias are you on right now?
I have, I think I have all of them. I have Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook.
Which one are you on the most?
Probably Snapchat and Instagram.
Is there any kind of up and coming social media platform that a lot of people don't know about right now?
Not that I know of. I heard about Vine 2 coming out. I don't know if you heard about that.
Okay.
Because there was an original Vine, and it kind of got bought out from Twitter and then ended. But I think the founder is making a Vine 2. That's all I
Interesting.
know of.
Interesting. Do you dive into that stuff big time, or are you focused on other stuff?
Yeah, sometimes I get carried away. It's like it's a good distraction, just scrolling through, and there's people have started making really funny things on those platforms, so it's a good laugh sometimes.
What's something about you that most people don't know about?
When I was younger, I wanted to be a biologist. I would watch Animal Planet every day, and I wanted to have my own TV show and travel around the world and go into these forests and find animals. So I guess that's where my passion for renewable energies comes in. When I started hearing about all the effects of climate change and fossil fuels, I guess it's inspired me to sort of do something to protect our environment and our animals along with it. So that's where my passion stems for solar IoT.
Hmm. So, what do you think the future is of the business? Where do you think it could go?
So if we get this partnership with with LA Solar, and we make a working product and use his existing customer base, I think we start off small, maybe in the LA area. We can get people putting money into the system and building small scale residential projects from there. And I think we can grow with LA Solar into California as a whole, and possibly spread across the United States if the infrastructure is available. And I think he predicted that within the first couple months, uh, we can get like 7.5 million of investment through the platform just for solar projects.
You mentioned that you're inspired by someone like an Elon Musk. What's something about him that you look at and really get inspired by, or it makes you, want to continue to follow him?
Well, other than his just raw intelligence, I guess his ability to just find something he loves to do, find something he's interested in, and then just start a company in whatever that is. I mean, he has SpaceX, Solar City, Tesla, OpenAI, the Boring Company. Like it doesn't stop, right? And he's built pretty successful companies in these spaces, and he's despite other people they thought they'd never get an electric car company to be possible, and yet he did it. And so I want to be able to whatever passion or interest I have at the moment, I want to be able to work on something in it and possibly start a company in it.
How do you make sure that your kind of mantra, or what you really want to do in life, that you build a company around that at the same time?
How do I see it's done? Or
So you talked about how you really want to make sure that you can basically build up this intellectual capital or have a lot of time or the ability to create the life that you want and have a business at the same time? How do you make sure that you can, keep that business and kind of keep those morals to what you want to do and not, give in to someone else and say, this is the way you have to do it, but instead you do it the Ethan way?
Mm. Yeah, so I guess you have to make sure from the beginning that your power in the company is very well stated, and you have to be very, very involved. And I guess the people you hire and the people you partner with are very, very important, because you're not going to be able to do everything yourself. There's going to be other people who are running certain things for you. And as long as you trust the people that you've partnered with or hired, I think, and they know your vision, and then they can execute it on from there is super important.
What scares you?
About the starting a business or
Starting
just
a
the world in
business or in
general?
life?
I guess I'm scared to fail, but I should get over that, you know. It's normal to fail and you learn a lot. Um, and I'm also scared of possibly what the future holds in terms. There's a lot of problems, like especially with fossil fuel right now. Who knows what will happen to the environment? We've already seen animals become extinct. Certain plants are not able to grow in certain areas, rising sea levels. This is pretty all scary stuff. So that's why maybe SolarIoT is a good starting point.
Is that just life that these things are going to go extinct and they're going to go away, or is this something that actually can be solved or should be solved?
I think it can be. I think a lot of research has shown that we have the actual infrastructure to go full renewable. We have the ability. It's just, I guess, the oil companies don't want it, and they have a lot of strong lobbyists preventing it. But I think we can definitely make a difference if we can convert uh, a majority of the country or even the world to renewable energy. Definitely, we'll see the effects of slowing down the climate change.
Knowing that you're up against a big business, like you just said, the oil companies, how do you make an impact? How do you build a community, a following behind you, so that you can create the business and this life that you think is so important?
Well, in this space, I think most people support renewable energies. I think there's some studies. I think like 60 or 70% of people do support converting to renewable, and they realize the impacts of fossil fuels. So the support is there from people in general. And our approach for this space from the start was a sort of crowdfunding approach, like a grassroots approach. So we start small from the local communities and sort of build up the support from there until we have a large group of many local communities supporting the platform.
Very cool. What's something in high school that you've gone through that really helped to make a big impact in your life for the business?
I've always tried to be in leadership roles. I was class president for 3 years for freshman through junior year, and so I got a lot of experience public speaking, running in events and planning events and fundraisers. And then I also started a few clubs. I was started the Hack Club actually because my friend Zach Lotta, who owns Hack Club, helped me start it at my high school. So these leadership roles have helped me with managing my time, planning events, and public speaking was definitely a big one.
What happened your senior year? Why didn't you win?
I didn't run. I actually wanted to focus on this company. Yeah,
You
like
retired.
I retired. My counselor told me I should focus on this instead. Yeah,
That's fine. How do you define leadership?
leadership. Um, hmm. I guess I guess you're in charge also, but you have a vision for whatever it is you're doing, and you do whatever it takes to carry that out successfully, and to be able to inspire people working with you and for you to follow you, and support you every step of the way. Be leadership.
Yeah. So you have a favorite quote that you live by?
Sure. So actually, at the Angel Hack Global Demo Day, I heard from Thomas Court, the founder of AngelPad, and he said that when you pitch your business to anyone, you're selling yourself as much as you're selling the business. If you can if you can convey yourself as a hardworking person, if you can convince them that you can achieve what your goal is, regardless of what the goal is, they'll support you. And so I really like that quote. And whenever I pitch my company, I try to convey myself as much as I try to convey the idea.
All right. Many of you guys know that I've worked with thousands and thousands of startups, early stage businesses, and mature businesses. one of the questions that I get all the time, and I'm getting it a lot right now, is I need a website or graphic design work, but I really don't know who to turn to. And here's the answer. Arc4. ARCPHOR. It's a hard one to spell, so we'll have it in the show notes so you guys can find it. But like me, Arc4 is a company that has worked with hundreds of businesses, entrepreneurs, and startups, and they get it. You know, so many people will say one thing, and they're really just trying to take your money, your hard-earned money, and then you're unhappy. That's not what you're going to get with Arc4. It's a company that they really do truly get it, and they know how to take care of their clients, and they aren't in the business of just selling you the things that you don't need. They'll tell you, hey, this is not going to be smart. You're going to waste your money, and then you don't have to spend as much money on something like that. So it's a great company, and they are in the business of making you look great, providing you with the tools that you need to generate revenue and sales for the long haul. It's who I trust to manage my websites, and you should too. So if you're looking for graphic design work or web development, Arc4 is the place to turn. Head to Arc4. I don't want to spell it again, but you guys can find that in the show notes, but arc4.com, and use Zach, Z-A-C-K, for 10% off. Just mention my name, but you have to spell it right, because if you spell it wrong, you're going to have to pay 10% more. All right, back to the show.